Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Esther Kraker Show. Today I have the Godfather, the man himself, the genius behind Turning Point USA, and the guy who brought us Turning Point UK. So you're all blessed with my lovely face, Charlie Kirk. Thank you so much for joining us.
Honored to be here. We're gonna have some fun.
Oh yeah, we definitely are. Today we're doing a political compass test with Charlie, and I'm just going to ask him some questions to see where he lies on the political spectrum. If he's a secret leftist, we're going to investigate that today. So are you ready, Charlie?
Let's do it.
All right, so these questions you can answer strongly disagree, disagree, agree, strongly agree. So those are the only four options that you have. All right?
All right.
Perfect. Okay, so first question. Wow. If economic globalization is inevitable, interesting premise, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interest of transnational corporations.
Well, first of all, this question is obviously written by a leftist, where it's somehow that humanity is at odds with transnational corporations.
Yeah.
So I take total exception with the question, because the way it's written is that there's a contradiction between the two.
Yeah.
And then I don't even want to talk about whether or not economic globalization is inevitable, because I don't think it's inevitable, and I don't want to deal with hypotheticals. That's the first thing they'll teach you in law school. Yeah. So if there was like a middle that I could say neutral, but if economic globalization is inevitable, should it primarily serve humanity rather than interest? I guess. So I guess I would mildly say agree if you put a gun to my head. But again, I think the question is kind of nonsense.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting wording, that one. Okay, right. Second question. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong.
Well, I think there's a difference between supporting your country and supporting your government. Yeah. So there's a huge difference there. I would not support my government, whether it was right or wrong. I don't know anyone who would support anything, whether it was right or wrong. I mean, that's the whole definition of morals, right? Yeah. That you have objective standards, and that's what you base it upon. I love America and I love the United Kingdom because you have a moral government that protects individual initiative and individual liberty. Again, I don't love the question. This is obviously written by a leftist. A lot of these questions are to try to get people to like, oh no, I would never support my country whether it's right or wrong. Wait, hold on. Difference between country and government. The country is the ethos, the philosophy, the people, the history, and the heritage. The government can be a collection of elites. So I would always support my country whether it was right or wrong. I'd say slightly disagree, but I think I nuanced and prefaced it well enough.
Okay, so I'll put it agree, but like just because. Just because.
Yeah. Okay. We're right. We're not on the strong extremes there, though. Okay.
All right. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it.
Okay. Now I can say strongly disagree, right? Again, I could just imagine why the leftists want to put that, because people virtue signaling, oh yeah, why? Again, these questions are not questions. These are like statements to try. It's leading the questioner. No one chooses his or her country of birth. So it's foolish to be proud of it. Well, that's such nonsense. There's a lot of things you don't change.
No one chooses which family they belong to, but that doesn't mean you should.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things you don't choose, right? You don't choose who your parents are. You don't choose what zip code you're in. There's a lot of things you don't choose. So I think it's total nonsense. By the way, you should be proud of where you're from, especially if where you're from is an exceptional, generous, benevolent country like the United States and the United Kingdom. So I strongly disagree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So our race has many superior qualities compared with other races.
Strongly disagree. That's insane. This, again, is written. This is the leftist political compass quiz. Strongly disagree.
Yeah. Okay. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I feel like
that's a silly question, too, because it all depends on the circumstance. And so, for example, if Iran, for example, was enemies with China, which they're not, that doesn't make them my friend. Or if Iran was enemies of Russia. So I strongly disagree with it. Anyone who just believes that on its surface is not thinking very analytically.
Okay. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified.
Of course, because international law might be wrong. So just because it's international law doesn't mean it's correct or it's moral. So absolutely, I strongly agree that any action that might defy anything, it depends what that law is. So if the international law says that the United States can't defend its borders, of course that's wrong. And guess what? I could see some silly international council saying that. So I strongly agree that military action that defies international law is sometimes justified.
Awesome. All right. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment.
Strongly agree. I don't think we need to go too far into that one. So
Yeah,
I strongly agree.
That's a no-brainer there, i.e. Hollywood. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality.
More by class than nationality.
I
I don't like looking at things in terms of classes. I mean, that's a very Marxist view, a very left-wing view.
Yeah.
I guess I'd I guess I would slightly disagree with that. But no
I think
real
it's more
strong
like
opinion.
economic. I don't know, because it depends on where you're from. Like here in the UK, the main, I suppose, divisions that we have in society are more class-based. Where in the US is a completely different story, but it's still primarily class-based anyway. Oh, that's
I guess. I mean, I suppose. Look, what I would say is this: is that in the States, if we view that no matter what class you're in America, you're blessed, right? That you're lucky to be an American. So I don't know which way that would put it on this particular question, but I don't inherently like people, dividing people by class. So.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Mm-hmm.
That's the bigotry of binary choices. They're both important. Is one more important than the other?
Yeah.
So I would say disagree, but I'm also an inflation hawk. So that's gonna kind of screw up my question here.
Because it could be the same thing in the US, a communist state. You could have full employment, which you would in a communist state, but your inflation could be through the roof. So
I guess I would say I disagree with that.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Or maybe again, it's right near it. It's in the middle. I wish they had just kind of like a push option. So.
Yeah. Non-identified. All right. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation.
What kind of crazy question is this?
Yeah.
The question is implying something that's categorically false. Of course, they can be trusted to voluntarily protect private property. I strongly disagree with it. This is written by a Marxist. This is the Marxist political compass test. I want to find the author of this. This is trying to make people left-wing. You can't lead the questioner. It should say this: should corporations require regulation for environmental policy? Not putting your own value system into the question. It's nonsense.
Yeah. Okay, next question. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea.
Strongly disagree. We're not Marxists.
Yeah. No Marxists.
I don't know. I mean, if Jeremy Corbyn was taking the test, then sure.
I suppose, yeah. The freer the market, the freer the people.
Strongly agree.
Yeah. All right. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah, I like bottled water, actually. I don't know what they have. So am I supposed to go to the tap and do this all the time?
We have more people that have more access to water thanks to the free market. The profit incentive has made more people wealthy, more efficient than ever before. So again, if you believe in the leftist the theory of labor, I guess that would be your answer. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's just placing a value judgment on what should be considered a commodity. But if it has value to someone that someone is willing to pay for, it's inherently a commodity. So unfortunately,
yeah.
Anyway, land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold.
Strongly disagree. Everything has value and it should be treated as such. Every piece of property, I should say.
It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society.
This is so biased. If you're watching this video, do you realize how biased this is? This is like the reflections or the meditations of an angry leftist in a political compass. I strongly disagree. If you create value and are able to circulate money and you're able to make money off of it, you should be rewarded. That's what private property is all about.
Okay, I'm going to put strongly disagree for that one.
Yeah.
Protectionism is necessary. It's sometimes necessary in trade.
I do agree with this, especially when it comes to China. I don't strongly agree with it. I'll just say slightly agree. Certain industries in the United States should be preserved and protected against our adversaries and enemies. Absolutely.
Okay. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders.
Okay, I don't know who would ever say they strongly agree with this. The only, as if it's the only thing. It's such a misleading question.
Yeah.
So I'll say slightly disagree because, of course, they have more of a social responsibility. They have to pay their workers. They have to treat their workers well. But they wouldn't be able to make a profit if they didn't do that. So it's a very, very misleading question. But I'll just say disagree on face value.
Okay. The rich are too highly taxed.
Strongly agree. Everyone is way too highly taxed, from the lowest worker to the highest earner. Taxes are way too damn high. Strongly agree.
Okay, those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care.
Absolutely, strongly agree. 100%. Absolutely.
Okay.
If you work hard and have a great idea, you should have better access to whatever it is that you've earned. Absolutely.
Okay. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public.
I agree with that. Yes.
Do you think that
Not strongly agree. Agree. Huh?
Do you think that applies to the media? Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public.
Say that again. Can you say it again?
Do you
Sorry.
think that applies to the media? So newspapers and...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If the media intentionally misleads the public, they should absolutely be penalized. 100%. Yes.
Okay. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies.
Yeah, I could be in the middle. I could be push. Again, this is written very misleadingly to try to convince people that they're leftists when they're really not. That's why they wrote these questions the way they did. But again, I am not someone who's totally laissez-faire when it comes to monopolies. So I'll say slightly agree with that.
Slightly agree. All right. And question. Okay. Abortion when the woman's life is not threatened should always be illegal.
Strongly agree. Every life is worth protecting. And if there weren't two sets of DNA, then how on earth could there not be two human beings there? Two sets of DNA. It's not your body. If it's not your DNA, it's not your choice.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a nice spin on it. Not your DNA, not your choice. All authority should be questioned.
Strongly agree. Yes.
Okay. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
I will say disagree. It's a trap question, but biblically and theologically, I do not agree with that. So I will say a disagree.
Okay. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis.
Strongly agree that they should not be expected. Essentially, let them go under if they can't support themselves. So strongly agree.
Okay. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Ooh, that's interesting. Huh?
Disagree. I know some form of school, homeschooling or something should be compulsory. Yes.
Okay. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind.
What? What kind of stupid question is that?
Kind? Are we like chickens?
Strongly disagree. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
Okay. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children.
Agree. The science shows that it works. Agree.
I actually got into a debate about this on Twitter. It's pretty funny.
No, it works. Agree.
It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents.
Yeah, of course. Agree. What kind of this is parent psychology? Yeah, of course.
Okay. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense.
Again, I have this whole thing. I'm not pro weed or pro marijuana. I think it's I think it's actually destroying a lot of young people. Do I think it should be a criminal offense? Again, this is a double negative. So possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Again, if I had a push option, I would do it. I'd probably slightly agree. I don't think people should be locked up forever, but I do not believe in the legalization or the commercialization of marijuana. I think it does total destruction. By the way, I walk into these hotel rooms. I was in one a couple months ago, and I walk in, I just get slapped in the face by this wave of weed or whatever loser was there before me. And why should I have to suffer because they wanted to relax? So it's not a victimless practice. So
the prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs.
Again, that's way too oversimplified, but again, if for college, yes, I would agree. It should not be about intellectual or philosophical exploration. But for grade school or for middle school, it should be about creating good people. So I'm guessing they're talking about schooling in the. I'll say slightly disagree. Again, it's so binary. It's hard to even engage in it.
Yeah, I feel like they should give you more options. Okay, people with serious inheritable diseases and disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce.
Strongly disagree. What?
Yeah.
Who would agree with that? Like mass sterilization? Like that's crazy.
The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline.
No, that's not the most important thing, but it is an important thing. So the most important thing is how to act morally and ethically. That's the most important thing a young person can learn. So I disagree with that.
Okay. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures.
Strongly disagree. No, there are savage cultures out there. Absolutely. Just go to the Middle East. They throw gay people off the top of buildings. Okay. There are this whole idea that we're multicultural and all cultures are created the same. The North Korean culture is evil. Okay. They do not have press freedom. They do not have individual freedom. They are an evil culture. So same with the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese culture. So there are, I hate that word savage because they're just trying to bring back, many centuries past language. But no, there are different cultures, and there are cultures that, well, I guess what they're saying is peoples. I don't want to be misunderstood by this question, though. What I'm talking about is how there are different cultures. What do you think? Do you think I'm misreading this, or?
There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. I think the word different cultures is misleading. I think it's saying that some people, just in a geographic location, are inherently barbaric. I don't think that's the case. I think humans are just humans, and we're conditioned by our values and culture and tradition. They're really different cultures. I agree. I agree with the question because people, as we are conditioned by our parents and by our values and by the culture around us.
I guess if that's the question, then yes. But yeah. I thought the question was that there's no such thing as certain cultures better than the other, which I guess that's not the question.
I think it might not be going down like the philosophical route of like,
I don't know why they keep on going to this direction of race. I'm not. I don't get it. So I guess I agree. I say I agree if I misread the question then.
Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support.
Strongly agree. If you can work and refuse to work, you should not get a dime or I don't know if you guys know what a dime is, or a nickel of federal support. Or how about 5% of a pound support? Okay, there you go.
Okay, all right. When you are troubled, it is better to not think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things.
Disagree. You should confront your problems head on, and you should slay the dragon that is currently bothering you. You should not defer. You shouldn't act like it doesn't exist. That's what cowards do.
Okay. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country.
Slightly disagree, but I will say that certain immigrants from certain parts of the country do have a very difficult time integrating with Western culture. So I'll say slightly disagree, but I can see where they're trying to go with the question. Again, it's a very left-wing kind of inclination.
Yeah. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us.
What is with this obsession about corporation versus people? I mean, there's a lot of overlap, and there's a lot of humanity that involves companies that employ human beings. I will say disagree. I will not say strongly disagree, but I reject the question.
No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding.
Strongly agree. Defund the BBC. Sorry if I offend anyone over there.
Oh my gosh, yes. I just have to pay my
strongly agree. Defund NPR and BBC. Make them get their own damn funding.
Exactly. Just have to pay. All right, okay, next question. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism.
I'd say I slightly agree with this. Yes, I am one to try to look out for the Fourth Amendment, as we call it in the United States. So I'll say I slightly agree with that. I am a privacy hawk, and I think those can be abused by tech companies and by people in the National Security Agency in our country that wish to do malevolence and harm against our citizens.
A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress of a democratic political system.
Disagree. There's no advantage to a one-party state. This is like the argument for Kim Jong-un. Like, oh, the good thing about Kim Jong-un is we don't have arguments, because if you argue, you're dead. Like, okay, great. You get a bullet in your head.
Okay, although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried.
Strongly disagree with this. I completely and strongly disagree. That power will be abused. If they can monitor anything, they will go after people that they dislike or disagree with.
The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Ooh.
I actually strongly disagree with this. I'm against the death penalty. It does not have a good track record. It's more expensive. We kill innocent people. And I don't think that the government should have the right or the ability to take the lives away of its citizens. So I strongly disagree.
I think this is one of those arguments or these topics that a lot of conservatives have kind of shifted their opinion on to actually, be against the death penalty. It's very interesting to notice that shift among conservatives. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded.
That's the weird. I don't know what kind of society they're talking about, like ancient Babylon, but disagree. I don't really understand that.
Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all.
I'm not going to totally offend all the people that like abstract art, but I'll just slightly offend them. So I'll say I agree with that, not strongly agree. How about that? So
In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation.
I strongly agree with that. Yes. Punishment can be rehabilitating for people. To act like punishment can't be rehab is nonsense. If you raped somebody, I don't care about rehabbing you. You're a sick person. You should be in jail the rest of your life. I'm not in the interest of trying to heal you. You've already destroyed someone else's life, and you've committed a heinous crime that in my eyes is unforgivable on earth. So your best rehab is society punishing you.
It is a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals.
Strongly agree. Yeah. Strongly agree.
Time and money. Okay, the business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist.
Look, if they, what kind of silly question? Like, oh, they want me to do a value judgment? They both have equal contributions. If they're both voluntarily cooperating, then everyone's important. Important to what? Important to the GDP or important to the value and the fabric of the country? That's what's so great about a free society is I'm not centrally commanding them. Whatever leftist wrote this quiz is trying to impose that on us. So I'll say disagree, not strongly disagree, but I think it's a silly question.
Okay, next question. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Oh, okay.
So I'm going to answer this question in a way that will be controversial, but I don't mean it the way that was asked. Do I believe that most women have a desire to be mothers and they should fulfill that? Yes. Yeah. Do I like the question? No. So I know what they're trying to ask, and I'm going to say slightly agree, but I believe most women have a biological predisposition to procreate and to nurture and to be mothers, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it should be embraced and celebrated. So I kind of reject the question, but I'm going to say agree, because I think that's what they're trying to ask.
Yeah. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the harsh genetic resources of developing countries.
Disagree. I don't know. I mean, some companies, some are doing it ethically and doing it properly and employing a lot of people. So show me the company, show me the example. Yeah. So I'll just say disagree, because I don't like this general indictment against companies. That's what this whole quiz is about. Like, let's just put companies on trial. It's silly.
Yeah. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Peace with the
Strongly disagree. Again, they're supposed to be like kind of communicating to young leftists, like, no, I'll never make peace with the establishment status quo, even though the socialists and the Marxists are actually the status quo. So anyway.
Okay, next question. Astrology accurately explains many things.
Disagree. I believe in the Bible. That's my North Star, not the actual North Star.
You cannot be moral without being religious.
This is a very difficult question. It's an indictment against religion. Do I think religious people can be moral? Absolutely. But where we get the idea of right and wrong from is originally from the Torah and then the Bible, or else good and bad is just an opinion. If there is no God, then right and wrong is just an up or down vote. If you believe that there was some sort of big bang that started space, time, and matter, therefore there must be something using the laws of logic that was spaceless, timeless, and matterless that started that big bang. And even the most committed atheists agree that is the greatest argument for the existence of a God. Therefore, if there is a God, therefore everything we know to be true, right and wrong, had to be created by somebody. It wasn't discovered. It wasn't stumbled upon. It wasn't fallen backwards within it. So I will disagree with this, even though I will say that we get our morals from a religious construct. Does that make sense? But someone who has no religion at all, of course they can act morally. But where do we get that definition of morals? That's actually the question. That's where I'm getting into my problem with the question.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the generally disadvantaged.
Yes, charity is by far the best way to voluntarily help people. Absolutely. Social security, which is a different meaning of this quiz of what it is in America, but government assistance is not the best way to help people. Charity, people helping people, churches, synagogues, individual philanthropy is by far better than that. So I strongly agree it's better.
Okay. Some people are naturally unlucky.
Strongly disagree. You are the master of your own future. Act morally. be smart, don't do stupid stuff, and you'll be just fine. No, some people are not naturally unlucky. That's not an excuse. Some people say, yeah, I'm so unlucky. Every time I committed a crime, the police would always catch me. Well, maybe you shouldn't have committed a crime in the first place, okay? So no, some people are not naturally unlucky. Make good choices and act morally.
Okay. It is important that my child's school instills religious values.
Strongly agree. Absolutely, yes. My fictitious child or my future children, absolutely.
Okay, these are the last few questions. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral.
I agree with that. Yes, according to the Bible, that is correct.
Yeah, pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population.
Disagree.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's just another really good one. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state.
It's very difficult to say that because what goes on? Well, what if they're cutting each other's arms off? Okay, then it is the business of the state. Okay, what if they're torturing each other? All right, then it's the business of the state. So I'll say disagree. It's a silly question. What they're trying to say is, well, two consenting adults. Okay, again, that's not the right way to word it. I know what they're trying to ask. Okay, it's silly.
No one can feel naturally homosexual. That's a weird question.
Disagree. I don't know what that even means.
These days, openness about sex has gone too far.
Strongly agree, because we're talking about 9 questions about this stuff.
Yeah. Okay, right.
Where are my results?
Okay,
well, I guess I'm not very authoritarian. I'm not a leftist, everybody, but I do believe in freedom and liberty. But I just want to say I take strong objection with a lot of things in this test. I'm very pro-life. I'm very pro-traditional marriage, and that wasn't even a question that was asked.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a question like, do you believe marriage is between one man and one woman, which I believe in. So yeah, it was fun. But why don't we do we should create our own political compass quiz that just asks basic questions. Do you think freedom is a right? Like that would be a nice, where do rights come from? God or government? Like basic questions. But anyway, this was fun. Maybe people learned something, and it's always good to be able to discuss these issues.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us, Charlie. This was great.
You bet. All right. God bless. Thank you.